caused the nation's most sensitive secrets to pass through a non-secured server. That is a crime, whether it falls into the hands of evildoers or not. For the first time yesterday, Catherine Herridge reported this. The State Department acknowledged they found 22 emails that were top secret at the time she sent them and received them and marked as top secret. The improper use of these emails is being investigated by 100 FBI agents who don't give a flip. I'm using the language of the FBI director about politics. And the more she mocks or belittles this, the worse her legal status becomes.
All right, and there you have it. That is Judge Napolitano with Fox News covering basically the Hillary email crisis, which goes on and on and on and just never seems to end. Hopefully we'll see a resolution soon. I hope we see an indictment. We need to show politicians that they cannot go around breaking laws, acting frivolously like this lady did, and then get away with it. Have no actions. And that's the problem. If you relate it to, I'm always talking about police officers going out and doing stuff and not being disciplined correctly, and that's why we have an ongoing issue. The same thing pertains to politicians. And when are we going to draw the line? All right, this is Francesco Abbruzzino. This is the Uncensored Report. It's a one-man show. I do everything from the research to the production of this show, to the website, social media. Truly one man. Every posting on there comes from this guy's fingers. As you can see, I'm drinking out of my Zane 1D cup, which is my daughter's, and I think Zane's the dude that just left and just cut his single. But I'm taking some milk, seltzer, pop, fizz, because I got a cold. So I'm going to struggle through today, and we're going to see what we can do. It is a one-man operation, so... Or it is unedited, uncensored. I basically go out, I look for stories that I want to opine on. I do that, but first, we cover the local news. So, let's hop over there and see what is taking place on the local news. Let's go here, and, all right. This is from my Scoop National News page. This is just, again, I'm from the Navy. I hate seeing scenes like this where you got naval personnel that are being basically humiliated. Sure, they're going to be captured. How does this shit, by the way, get caught by these guys? That's what I haven't figured out. But Iran says that they have extensive info from the sailors, and they're deciding whether or not to make it public. Who knows? That could be accurate. They could just be blowing smoke. This is a tragic incident involving a young child and a dog, and people are struggling to get the dog off the individual child. As you can see, they're really tragic. All right, we've seen enough of that one. And let's see. Whoops. All right. What else we got here? Dad and son, 4, die after falling through the ice into the lake. Yeah, come on. It's just not cold enough up there. I don't know if I'd trust the ice. I've gone ice fishing. I'm from Detroit. It's a tragic event there. Tragic. Never assume the ice is safe, folks. Let's see what else we got here. This was just funny. A fish come up and hit this vlogger. Look, you'll see in a second. Oh, just made me laugh. Everybody needs a laugh. This is good. This is about venetoclax, which is a leukemia drug, and I probably pronounce it wrong, but it's shown that in 80% of the patients, it essentially takes this cancer and melts it away from the patients with leukemia. So exciting news coming from that front. Missing child, I always put those on there. Unfortunately, they don't get shared as much as I would like. Only 375 people sharing that. I would like to see more, obviously. Yet you got 3,000 people that are interested in the Muslim man, which it is pretty interesting. This is basically, he came in and he cut his wife's nose off after argument because he wanted to take a second wife, a 6-year-old bride, and she was having nothing to do with it. This is a curious case of Benjamin Button, and he's 7. His brother is with him there, and they have a rare illness which gives them swollen face and wrinkled skin. Just never heard of it. I thought it was interesting. This is out of the Gaza, and they have their first tank. So let's take a quick listen. Oops. And this is besides the fact that there's basically been Israel hasn't been allowing any supplies or anything going in there, an embargo, but they were able to produce this. And I'm sure Israel will not be will not be happy about it. Okay, this just a beating heart. This machine, this device brings a heart back to life. I thought it was interesting. Heart in a box, according to Christopher. Good one. Sanders. Oh, we should have covered this. Sanders is demanding a recount. He says, look, it's too close to call. I think they're off by, they say 0.4 here. It's a number of 5 people. He wants a recount in it, and it's not exactly done. I don't think the full count is in yet. What this is, because it's so narrow, if Sanders would have won or just placing the way he did, it's a victory for him. All right, Hillary should have blown his pants off here, so this should be construed as a victory. In regards to the Republican side, I'm going to opine more on it, but it was Cruz that took it. Cruz won it, but Rubio's the big winner, and well, I'm going to save that for my opine time. Just a dog. I thought this was interesting. Apparently, 15,000 people so far, dude. It's only been up 42 minutes, and it's about an aged dog, and he cries at the shelter as the owner walks out with a younger puppy. Pump of Cumpsy Phil Pussokunky Phil. See, he doesn't see a shadow.
There is no shadow to be cast. An early spring is my forecast.
Polkatonsi. I can't pronounce that name. So it looks like no more winner. Well, with El Nino, that was not a difficult one. This one just got a ton of views yesterday, and that's the most watched, and a ton of commentary and sharing on it yesterday. Some dangerous hiking trails. I thought, wow, I'm an adventurous, and I would probably try this, although I have a huge fear of heights. I'd do it just to conquer my fear. Some fluff pieces in there. Let's see, what's this? Reason why I drink hot water in the morning, engaging. What's this here? Oh, this is that volcano. It's a rare. Look at it.
To descend beneath the ice at some point down the slope of the volcano. So there's a strong interaction between glacial ice and molten lava on the side of Big Bend.
All right, and that's a rare occurrence, a rare look at that, which is interesting. And we can do it now because we have the internet. Life is good. Let's see. Study claims that the dark websites are commonly used for crime. Well, yeah, drugs are all over the dark web. There's a lot of stuff all over the dark web. It doesn't surprise me, that study. Almost 10,000 people interested in how long 10 of the most popular drugs can stay in your system. I don't know if I should be worried about that or what. And they talk about how cocaine stays in your blood for 2 days, but in your hair much, much longer. Italian reporter, I just thought it was funny, the tagline, it was only matter of time before he went bananas because the passerby was poking him. And funny, I was watching, it's With the Apes, the guy that keeps apes in Africa. And he trains them to go back in the wild. I forget what it's called, but they had this one ape, and he kept poking the new guy, Zach, that was in there. And for some reason, it just brought it all together for me. Let's see. What's this? Oh, this is a person he wanted to show the impact of multiple sclerosis. And it's a woman, actually. And it's a 20-second flip scene where she's just sitting there. And it just shows alarmingly what it's like for these poor individuals. Let's see, an update. This is a tragic story. We're seeing too much of this lately, folks. We just saw this with a basketball high school team. This is where Norman police, they've concluded an investigation, and there were allegations of sexual assault involving students from this Norman high school varsity wrestling team. They found that multiple acts of sexual assault occurred. And I believe somewhere, I think on yesterday's, it said they were 12 and 16 years old. They were essentially raped. And for some reason, it's a disturbing trend that you're seeing out there now in sports. I don't get it. I don't understand it. But hopefully, I wish the schools would talk to these kids and try to put a stop to it, because it's ridiculous. Russians are pissed because they went out, they burned this large mosque. Obviously, they're upset with a lot of the extremism and the Islam extremism that's going on there. Dad throws his young children from first floor of the migrant center, more of the migrant crisis. They're building a fence to keep kids away from McDonald's that cost them $83,000. How about educating the kids on how bad McDonald's is for you? It's funny, my youngest daughter was big on it. So she stopped eating McDonald's because I would bitch and I wouldn't take her. I'd hate going there. And after a couple weeks of not eating there, she went and she got some chicken nuggets. She came back with belly hurt, and I'm like, yeah, it's the quality of the food there, if you want to even call it food. Call students, stop wasting your time, and look for some sleep. How about this? This makes Lance Armstrong look like nothing. This guy put a motor on his bicycle. Well, let's see, what else we got here? Oh, this is a nice little story. It's about a mother who was able to save someone's life by donating her son's organs to this young child. All right, Flash told this lady health problems with her baby with the eyes. Let's see what else we got here. Clinton Associates set up for hidden network, hidden emails. We're going to probably elaborate more on that. Oh, that retired officer. This was a huge hit. A lot of people hitting on it today. Only 296, but this is the guy that wasn't allowed to get his K-9. He raised a bunch of money, and now he's able to get his K-9. It's a retired officer, and they're retiring the K-9. So a happy ending there. Parents sue school for forcing daughter to convert to Islam. That's interesting, but only, see, you get big stories like that. 350 people are interested in a story that impacts all of us, folks. Yet you got 11,923 that are worried about this. How two best buds snuck into a movie theater disguised as one large fat man. What's that say about our society? Disturbing. All right, this is Chernobyl. Some videos from a drone. Zika, how to protect yourself from it. NASA super goopy cargo plane that they want to fly to Mars. A snake almost getting a dog. This is Trump saying he might buy a farm here. Hillary saying, I am progressive who gets things done. And I think that's it. There's obviously more news out there, but I think we've covered enough of these small stories. Let me see. Migraine attacks elderly woman in a German woman as attacks an elderly German trying to protect a woman from harassment in Munich on a train. Let's see. They're getting up to 20 threats a day leading up to the Super Bowl, so a lot of people are concerned regarding the Super Bowl. And let's see. There's Donald there again. Purple Heart. New York vet gets Purple Heart 70 years after World War II battles. Okay, this is getting into last night's stuff. So there you have it. That's the local news. So let's check the markets real quick, see what they're going up to. Futures looks a little negative, 125, down 125. S&P down 1550, and NASDAQ down 3275. Exxon profits tumble 58%. Not surprising with the way the gas pricing is going. I tell you what, I watched CNBC briefly this morning. I couldn't help but notice how many people are coming out like Yahoo saying we're eliminating jobs or selling off, and you're seeing it around the table. I'm telling you, folks, in about 4 to 5 months, I'm really worried where this economy is going to be. I'm really worried about it, and I talk about it on a regular basis. And I think rightfully so, we should be concerned about it. All right, so let's get this set up. I should have had that ready, and wrong screen. We keep you on that screen. I forgot it. Okay. I don't know if you guys like this where I have the split screen and you're seeing the stories that are going in the headline. Someone said you should make it more interactive. So I thought, okay, we'll make it more interactive, and that's how I did it. First, we want to talk about the Iowa caucuses. I'm probably going to focus mostly on politics today. I do some politics a lot of times. A lot of times I talk about business, economy. For some reason, though, with the Iowa caucuses, I decided to focus primarily on there. And with the Iowa, I wanted to focus primarily on the Republicans and what's going on over there. You see, it isn't how it was supposed to go for Donald last night. Iowa was supposed to be the first of a series of convincing wins that would cement him, his status as the nominee for the Republican Party, but it didn't quite go that well. Instead, Iowa dealt him a serious blow. It gave Rubio a huge push, and Cruz just cruised in. What you got to understand about Iowa is Iowa's very heavy evangelical. So Cruz had a benefit of the evangelical vote going in there. He's not going to have that when he goes down to South Carolina, and that's going to impede him. I think that's the main contributing factor as to why he won in Iowa, I believe. I don't think it was because The Donald didn't go to the last debate, as some of the pundits are out there saying. But Iowa, as I said, it blew to Trump's candidacy, and it threw the race into basically a three-man race between Trump, Cruz, and Rubio. And, of course, Trump is far from dead, but, he's got New Hampshire coming up, and I don't even think Cruz is even going there because he knows, because Donald's so far ahead, but it's a must-win for him. And if Trump does not win there, which he should because he's heavily favored, he'll be 0-2. And that's going to send shock waves throughout the Republican Party, more so than he's already sent with his running and a lot of the rhetoric that he's been putting out there. But he needs at least 60% of the delegates. And it was an interesting story I was reading. It was from Michael Snyder. And he says that Trump needs 60% of the delegates before the convention to ensure that he can secure the nomination. And a lot of people out there, such as myself, don't understand how the process works. And this article was enlightening as to how the process works, and how Donald could get most of the counts, but he may not win the electorate, the nomination, basically. In order to get that, Republican candidates must secure at least 1,237 of the 2,472 delegates that are up for grabs. But not all these delegates will be awarded during the caucuses, during the different primaries. Only about 2,400 will, 2,500 will. And you got about 437, 440 that will be unpledged delegates. And these unpledged individuals are of great importance to the Republican Party. Another factor, too, that played into yesterday, which will play into Florida, too. One thing I can't stand, and I'm not sure why it's like this. I'm an independent. All right, I vote every single time. But here's the problem. In these primaries, just like in Iowa's caucus last night, it was just Republicans that could vote for the Republicans. Donald's pulling from a lot of the Democrats, a lot of the independents. So that hurt him there because it was straight up Republican. All right, so there's some factors that go into these numbers. You can't just look at a win and say Donald's screwed. But the same thing happens here in Florida. Here in Florida, I'm an independent. I can't vote. I can't decide who's going to get the Republican ticket unless I go over and join the Republican Party, which I don't want to do. So the only thing I get to do is the Republicans get to choose who they want, Democrats choose who they want, and then they all send them to the election, and I get to choose which one I want as a president. And that process is flawed because it's not just a presidential level. It happens at the county level, too, with county commissioners. I can go out and vote for which one I want. And what's talked about is here in Sarasota County, I remember it was a friend of mine, Paul Carajuli, he's this county commissioner. He was running. Nobody was running against him. It was just the Republicans. And there was about 3 or 4 of them, I think. I don't remember the exact number. There were some Democrats, but they didn't have a chance. So whoever won this primary for Republicans was going to take the county seat. And unfortunately, I couldn't have any say in that matter. And the Republicans got to decide who was going to lead my future here in Sarasota County, who was going to represent us as one of, I think, 7 heads on the county commission. And this stuff needs to change. But back to this thing. You know, when you talk about Donald and those unpledged delegates, the establishment is not fond of Donald. They're not fond of Ted Cruz. They hate Ted Cruz for some reason. And so where will those go? You know, he got off to a rough start. He got about 24% of Iowa. If he continues to perform like that, he doesn't have a prayer of becoming the Republican nominee. And again, the difficult part for him is going to be the fact that he's pulling from the Democrats and independents. But within the Republican Party, it's a different ballgame. And we're seeing that with results like last night. And during the election season, most of the states will allocate their delegates on a proportional basis. And that means that it's going to be quite difficult for any Republican candidate to pile up 60% of the delegates out there by the time this convention rolls around. It's going to be very difficult. And if no candidate gets there, gets enough delegates, gets to 60%, that means they would end up in what they call a brokered convention. And the mechanics of this convention are a little complicated. It was a little confusing. I was reading this article. But on a practical level, it essentially means that the party establishment will get to hand select the nominee they want. It will not be Ted Cruz. They don't like Ted Cruz. It will not be Donald Trump. That leaves essentially Rubio or Jeb Bush. And some people are asking, well, why is Jeb staying in there? That's why Jeb is staying in the race. And Ted did great last night. He outperformed everybody, but he spent a ton of money there, and like I said, he's got a huge evangelical base there. But Ted Cruz had to win there. He had to win there, and that's why he put all that money there. And like I said, I don't think he's even going to New Hampshire. He was pretty much betting his entire candidacy on this win last night in Iowa. And for those that are now anticipating that Cruz will become the lead dog, it's not going to happen. You got Mike Huckabee. He dropped out last night. Who will he be casting his votes to? He was pulling some of the evangelicals from Cruz. Will they go over to Cruz? I don't know. And if you look at previous, Huckabee won Iowa in 2008, Santorum in 2012. Look what happened to both those guys. So Iowa is not a predictor of how well you will do in the candidacy. I don't know. Cruz could be different. I don't know. We'll see. But remember, like I said, the party establishment hates him. They do not like this guy whatsoever, him or Trump. And so you got to look at the big winner from last night, which was Rubio. He outperformed everyone, getting 23%, almost taking over Trump. And, I'm not a huge fan of Rubio. He wouldn't be my choice. So, look, the Republican primaries are decided by Republicans. Usually they're hardcore establishment Republicans, and they're going to go with their guys. So Ted Cruz and Donald Trump have a tough time at it. And that's why a lot of people are encouraging Donald to go independent. He goes independent. He can pull from all the parties. He doesn't have to face the Republican challenges that are out there, like going into these primaries that are ran by establishment Republican Party personnel. But like I said, they got New Hampshire next, and he'll probably win that. He should win it, since people like Ted Cruz are throwing in the towel. Cruz should get a big bump from Iowa. I don't know if he will, especially going to South Carolina. Like I said, they said two things are going to impact him. He won't have the evangelicals and the white, because the white percentage of white voters dropped significantly. And so another key is going to be New Hampshire, where you got the candidates there, and the momentum from Iowa helps Rubio get out there. But one thing I noticed about Rubio is he might not have the momentum because they barely even talked about him today. Even though he did so phenomenal, they barely talked about him. And so at this juncture, it's hard to see. I don't see Donald getting the 60%. Especially with what I see it come down to is possibly, and I think that this is what you're hearing, a lot of whispering, is a brokered convention where the establishment comes in and picks the choice, be it either Rubio or Jeb Bush. That's the way I think it's going to go. And then maybe Donald does an independent run. Who knows? I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more excitement out there. A lot more excitement. But one thing's for sure, and when I keep saying establishment, what I'm talking about is that our democracy is for the rich, for the billionaires out there. It's their playground. They go out and basically pick and choose the candidates they want. I love citizens getting out there. We need citizen participation in national politics. President Obama, he was out there. He wants it. But he understands, like most people, that our democracy is hard. And our democracy is more about hard code cash and how much you have. Mountains of it. And that's a tool that many presidential candidates need. Several Powerball jackpots could already be fueled from the billions of dollars that have been contributed to these campaigns. If I saw the numbers today, I think Cruz has like 180 million still banked in. And the devil lies right there in all those details of where this money's come from. Where it's come from, who's contributing. And with 3 2016 debates down, and I think we got, 6 more scheduled, the 2 fundraisers with the most surprising amount of in common is going to be Bernie and Donald. Neither has billionaires infusion. They don't have the super PACs that you're seeing out there. They have vastly different ideologies. Bernie's made it clear to the billionaires that he won't ever, they won't ever hold sway in his court. While Trump, well, you know him, he's already a billionaire. He doesn't need their money. He doesn't want the attention of the billionaires. And then you got the rest of the field, the candidates out there, and they're counting and relying on money from these billionaires. That's the arsenal they need to get out there and win their the primaries and then eventually the election. These corporate sponsors out there, and do you think they're going to want anything? And later, let's say Rubio gets it, he's got to come back and appease them. They're not investing all this money just for the hell of it, folks. And this all comes from that Supreme Court decision back in 2010 with Citizens United. And they gave super PACs the power to rise up and raise billions of dollars and go out and basically run a campaign for an individual with no ties essentially to them. But you get out there and you're capturing this drama of the billionaires in new ways, or the TV networks. They're eager to profit from the latest eyeball gluing version of the election. The politicking, the debating that goes on. They're making a mint off of it. Along with the super PACs and everybody else. So you got to be careful here. I see too much money going out there, and like I said, you look on the Republican side, you got Ted Cruz. He's the most God-fearing, if you want to say, evangelical. It's true that this Texas senator goof in neglecting to disclose the election commission, his little 6-figure loan from Goldman Sachs where his wife was an executive. It just slipped his mind. I don't know what he was thinking. And he's got a slew of wealthy Christians that are in his camp, in his super PAC, just throwing money his way. You got Marco Rubio. He's from here in Florida, my home state. He's raised about $33 million from individual and PAC contributions. He's spent about $9 million. And billionaires just love this kid for some reason. I'm not sure why. Jeb Bush, he was once the front runner. And now he's just slipping. I think he barely beat out Rand, though. And he's raised about $128 million. And that was as of November. He spent about $20 million. And it's funny. He spent a ton of money. I think, what did they say yesterday? Or this morning? I think they said something like $9 million in Iowa, and he didn't get one caucus there. One person. Ben, he has no love for billionaires. Ben Carson, you got Chris Christie, Donald Trump. Hillary, Jesus Christ, she's in bed with them all the way. But this is just something that we got to keep our eye on, folks. Will Bernie citizens beat Hillary's billionaires? I don't know. Will Trump go billion to billion with fellow billionaire Mark Bloomberg if he decides to run? Who knows? Will Ted Cruz's prayers as the evangelical be answered? Will Rubio score a 12th round knockout on Cruz and Trump? Where's Jeb in all this? Does he even exist? These are the things that keep me up at night. All right, I did want to talk now about Hillary and some of the concerns I had there. She was out and she addressed the criticism that's being that she's bought by special interest. That's because she's pocketed so much money. I think she received a contribution of $6 million from George Soros. It was either yesterday or the day before, and she says he will not want nothing in return. Now I'm going to cover George Soros in detail in a second, because this is why it's instrumental to look at how this money is flowing in and how much money is flowing in. And this money from Soros keeps Clinton alive. He gives her that extra cash flow that she wanted, but she keeps sitting out there saying that regardless of the facts out there, and regardless of all the money she's received from Wall Street, it will not have any influence, it will not have any sway on her whatsoever. And I just find that hard to believe. The Clintons have raked in more than $125 million in speaking fees since leaving the White House. And most of it stemming from the Wall Street linked financial firms. Do you think she's going to play hardball with them? I don't think so, folks. And what happens if these allegations become true about her? About the whole email thing? And that's something else we're going to cover in great detail. They got the ongoing investigation out there. It's surprising that Soros gave her $6 million because back in 2008, Soros said he regretted backing Obama over Hillary in 2008, but he's giving her the money now. He reportedly gave Obama $5 million back then, but he got upset because he was snubbed. He was ignored by Obama. He didn't enjoy that. But what are we going to see here? You got Soros. He essentially went out and created this whole refugee crisis from the start to finish, destroying multiple Middle Eastern nations and European ones like the Ukraine. And now he's out there demanding that Europe accept millions of displaced victims. This is a true globalist. I'm looking at his picture on a computer here. He's an internationalist. He's out there exploiting the chaos that he helped to unleash. All for his globalism. Europe, Africa, Middle East are all in the crosshairs of this guy, George Soros. This guy that just gave $6 million to Hillary. He's a refugee crisis instigator. And they're using the horror of the refugee crisis to unleash as a pretext to erode what remains the national sovereignty of Europe and the different regions, not just Europe. Empowering supranational institutions like the European Union, United Nations, the African Union, the Middle East Union. It hasn't been unveiled yet, but that's something they're talking about, the Middle East Union. They're talking about the new Marshall Plan. Using the EU paramilitary, by sizes, force to get his agenda through. All in order to create a new world order. And you got this refugee crisis is spiraling out of control. It's from continent to continent. We're seeing all kinds of issues. We've seen the massive sex assaults in Cologne, or actually throughout Germany on New Year's. We've seen what's happening over in Calais, France. We saw what happened in the Stockholm Central train station. And the public in Europe is growing increasingly outraged. Even establishment forces out there that are responsible for unleashing the refugees and all this chaos are denouncing it. Merkel's saying they're going to go back home. What will happen? You got Rothschild out there. And you got Soros. They will play a key role here. They'll play an instrumental role in encouraging the myriad of wars that we'll see out there, which have brought and will continue to bring on a tsunami of refugees to Europe. Refugees that have come from wars that have sparked from Soros having his hand in the pot. And now Soros is there and he's pointing out the obvious, that the European Union is on the verge of collapse, which is the obvious. It's something. It's a chaos and it's a crisis he created, and he's saying it's on a collapse because of the sudden influx of Islamic refugees. Soros also has ideas about a way to come up with a solution. Like I said, it's that whole Marshall Plan and globalism. And you got the radical anti-national sovereignty out there, the status, and they claim that Europe needs to finance this new Marshall Plan and finance it for the regions of the world with which the refugees are fleeing. And the new Marshall Plan that they're envisioning seeks to transfer the wealth from struggling European taxpayers to a multitude of nations under this globalist plan and transfer it to places like Libya, Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, a lot of Middle Eastern countries. It'll be similar to the Marshall Plan from World War II, where we took billions of dollars to prop up Europe. So you got this new Marshall Plan that they're talking about in the back rooms, in the collar, back in the cigar smoking rooms. And with it, what will the Middle East, what will Africa look like? If you look at the Marshall Plan and what it was like in Europe, it was essentially the European Recovery Program. And this whole scheme involved transferring the equivalent amount of money, about $150 billion in today's dollars, of our taxpayer money here in the United States over to Western Europe. And the purpose was to rebuild and dominate this new Western European region. And did it do that? Look what we have over there now. But ever since this Marshall Plan, that's what the U.S. has been doing. I was watching, I think it was Vice News last night, and they were talking about ISIS, and this guy was on the front lines, and they said, basically, ever since World War II, the United States has felt it upon themselves to go in and rebuild the nations that we have destroyed, and we've done a horrific job at it. You look at Libya, you look at Syria, you look at Iraq. Syria, they're still in the process. Afghanistan, look there. We're just doing a horrible job at it. It was a very interesting piece. So will we see the same with this new Marshall Plan that's being pushed by globalist establishments? And they've been openly advancing the imposition of the Middle Eastern Union on the region in the past few years. Just as warring Europeans are out there, they found peace through unity. It became the EU. You got all these refugees now over there wanting to upset the apple cart. The globalists have set it off. And they admit to it. The globalists will sit there and admit to it that that's their strategy. And if humanitarianism, it was truly the motivation, countless experts have, if you look at it, countless experts have pointed out that it would be radically more, my earpiece, effective to help refugees and victims of globalist wars closer to their homes, not over in Europe. I mean, it makes no sense to bring them all the way over to Europe and destroy that system, that whole economy, that everything that they worked so hard for over there. And, I saw something yesterday, just drove me crazy, where they were taking I forget the dollar amount, a few $1 million, and they were going to provide housing for 10,000 refugees. Yet they still have German residents, German citizens that are living in the streets. And it was interesting how nothing's being done for them. And then you wonder why people are still getting so upset. Why people are not happy with Merkel and a lot of the actions that she's taken, which have basically been counterproductive for the average German citizen. All right. What else? I wanted to talk about two more issues today. I wanted to talk about three. I want to talk about liberalism in college, the problem of kids going hungry in America, and let's talk about that. Because I just wanted to touch on it real quick, and it was a story I put out. I think I put it out. I saw it yesterday. There's about 220,000 kids that are under 6, are poor young children, and some are of color, some are not of color, but they're just poor individuals. And more than half, I think it's like 55%, are black children, African Americans. 40% are Hispanic, and 19% are white. And this is based on some statistics, according to this article, statistics out of Ohio. Nationally, though, you have about 15 million children where food is an insecure source for them. They don't have it. And the majority of these families are living with one or more working adults, but are still unable to consistently afford enough food to keep the wolves of hunger from their door. And they go hungry, unfortunately. I see it every day here just in Venice. We run my local pages where kids are going hungry. Living out of a car. I've seen that many times. And, look, there's no excuse. No excuse for any child in America to go hungry. malnourished. We're one of the richest nations in the world. If we took some of the money that we're spending in all these other countries and put it here on our youth, how much better would it be? We wouldn't have child hunger so widespread. It's it's a shameful problem that we have. And we need to do something about it now. Something here. Babies, toddlers, preschools, they're suffering hunger and malnutrition. They faced increased odds of negative health outcomes out there, folks. Sorry, someone just sent me something that distracted me. Kids, I got to learn to turn my phone off when I'm out here doing this. But you talk about food. And this article had some stuff, and it said food insecure children under age of 5 are nearly 2 times more likely to be in fair or poor health, which is a given. They're going to have behavioral problems. They might end up in the hospital. They're going to have more headaches. They're going to have more stomach aches, and a variety of medical issues out there. Mental and physical issues are going to take place out there. And I get it. When I was young, my mom divorced my dad. My dad went back to Italy. She had 4 of us kids, and he wasn't paying child support, so she was working 2-3 jobs. And we didn't eat much. We didn't have a lot of food. We didn't have a lot of money. But she made our ends meet. So I get it. I understand. I empathize with a lot of these people out there. You know, I understand that a lot of these kids are going to be behind on their social skills, on their reading performance in kindergarten. They said by elementary school, they're 4 times more likely to need mental health counseling. And the risks are going to keep accumulating, folks. The malnutrition factor is going to be in there. Food insecurity. The stress and anxiety of early childhood. Of where you're going to get your next meal. And if you can't afford a meal, you might not be able to afford shoes on your feet. And the worst are the ones that these poor babies that are born to insecure mothers. They're going to have low weight. They're going to have physical and mental issues before they're even out of that womb, unfortunately. And this is a travesty that I hate seeing here in America. I hate it when I'm going down the street and I see so many people that are suffering. I look at them and I want to help them. You want to help each and every one of them, but it's hard. You can barely help yourself. How are you going to help these people? And this is the stuff that keeps me up at night, folks. And this code is just, wrong screen. This code is just kicking my butt, man. Whew. One thing I did want to talk about, and I forgot, is on, when I was talking about Europe, is the whole war concept that plays into it. Because, I should have covered this before the kids. When we're out there and we're fighting these wars and we're leaving these countries devastated and the impact that they're having on them, the sheer madness of allowing refugees by the millions to pour into Europe, the riots in Cologne, like I said, the sexual assaulting, Stockholm, what happened there. And unfortunately, because we've gone out and there are so many wars that we have our hands into, it's created this immigration refugee crisis that's not going to stop. It's just the beginning. The shock and horror that's going to be associated with this is going to get worse. We're going to feel the impact for a lifetime. And more is to come. The scourge of this demon is upon us. And so what will we do? What will we have? I mean, it is pretty easy to stop this invasion by Muslims into Europe. Yet you see the EU making threatening noises to all the member countries that if they don't open the floodgates and allow these people in, then there will be hell to pay. And isn't it the EU then that's out there creating the problem, creating a bigger problem that will later claim it's trying to control? And we've done this through the wars. The wars in Afghanistan. And if you look at it, Afghanistan, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, Egypt, Palestine, Syria, and more. And what they're intended to do is push tax dollars into the military-industrial complex out there. and to create a distraction from the economic mismanagement of the central governments that are out there. The creation of a large number of refugees that are pouring into Europe, pouring into the United States, is for one benefit, and that's to the military-industrial complex machine. They don't care about the disharmony they're creating, the fear they're creating throughout Europe, throughout the world. As these refugees come in, they fail to assimilate into this new society. It's similar to how Hitler used the Jews. They were his excuse for creating a police state and going to war. The EU will go out there, they will create a crisis, then invoke martial law as an unfortunate necessity, like we're seeing in France. And they do that, as they say, in order to contain a problem. But it's a problem they created. It's a problem they created. And in doing so, when they're out there, they're using this propaganda, working the people up, spreading falsehoods, propaganda. And on both sides of the Atlantic, Europe and here, the governments are eager, the press is blind, and they're out there creating epic issues, crises of epic proportions. They created this whole economic crisis that we're seeing out there of epic proportions, and they need a distraction from it because this economy is going to get horrible, folks. I'm telling you, I'm really nervous. What will the distraction be? They need some kind of distraction to give them control over the people and assurance that they will stay in power. And throughout history, you've seen the distraction be some type of warfare. Because that provides the power for one group, one political leader, political leaders, after another to stay in power and take control. Just look, and it doesn't necessarily have to be war, just 911. They used that as a logic to go out and put out the Patriot Act and take away many of our freedom and liberties. I said France over there, after that incident that happened earlier last year with 128 people dying. Now they have basically martial law, and the French president said it's going to be here as long as this is here. For your safety. Do you believe it's for your safety? What it does is it makes the people feel helpless. So they, in turn, turn to the government and say, please, government, solve our problems. But is that what's going to happen? The EU, the United States, we're out there causing many of these problems through that we're seeing with the mass immigration of the refugees. And they're fooling themselves that they believe they can control the people that are coming in. And how could anybody believe any good could come from this? The best solution would have been for those people to stay in their countries and us go there and try to help them in their countries. The best solution would have been us not meddling in other countries' affairs. Syria began over that damn Syrian pipeline. I still say that to this day. We got pissed. Assad wasn't on board. We wanted him out. We went in and supported, financially backed ISIS. At the time, I think prior to that, they were, and if you look even further to that, they were part of Iraq, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which formed into ISIS. Al-Qaeda in Iraq came about because we told former Ba'athists in Saddam's party, sorry, you 500,000 people, you're out of the government. You're screwed. And this whole Muslim question's been made into a political issue. And, you got the conservatives out there. They see themselves as sensible and that they oppose immigration. You got the liberals out there, and they want to come off as caring. They want to support the immigration. It's polarized between these two factions. And it's absurd. It's going to create an immovable support of roughly 50-50 of the population here, and the same goes over in Europe. You're going to be at a head. But intelligent people are saying to each other every day, don't these politicians get it? Don't they understand that this influx of Muslims is a disaster in the making? And I'm telling you, yeah, they understand it. Of course they understand it. Which is why they're all on board, I guess. You know, if you look back at both the previous world wars, you'll see a charade, and you're going to see this charade play out again. Each country in Europe will, in turn, join the war with the enemy. At some point, Russia will get dragged in, either through overzealous military operations, and who knows, Turkey might shoot down another plane, maybe some false flag attack. I wouldn't be surprised there. Next thing you know, we're going to be in a world war, and it's all starting in that little Middle Eastern region. Syria, Iraq. Libya is a little bit off, but Libya is part of this whole puzzle too, folks. In the United States and Canada, we'll be happy. We'll provide armament through the military-industrial complex. Let me tell you, folks, we're not supposed to be selling weapons to countries that are committing humanitarian acts against civilizations, or non-humanitarian, like bombing civilians in Yemen, which Saudi Arabia is doing. Yet we still push. Canada and the United States sold, I think, close to $3 billion just recently in weaponry to Saudi Arabia. That we ignored the fact that we will not sell military supplies to countries that have humanitarian violations, such as what we're seeing over in Yemen. But that's where we'll come in. If there's war over in Europe, we're here, United States, Canada, just like in World War II. Here's your military. We'll come in. We'll make a ton of money. And then eventually, just like in World War II and in World War I, we'll be dragged in for some reason. And then the Muslims will overrun America as well. If Americans don't fall in line on cue, false flag incidents will be created. And this is nothing new, folks. I'm not saying something that's new. If you look at history's past, we've been dragged into a couple wars. It's not, the question isn't will the Muslims overrun Europe. They will. That's the objective, to overrun Europe. They want to go to the Vatican, chop the Pope's head off. And the question isn't whether we'll be at war. There will be a war. It's inevitable. We are essentially at a war now. The question is whether you live in a place that will be safe when all this comes down, when all this occurs. Will you be in a safe place? And there will be some people that recognize this. The government, they'll recognize that government is not always their best friend. Some will choose an exit plan. I got an exit plan. It's similar to like insurance. You purchase insurance due to certain things may go wrong. You want to make sure you go out there and you purchase stuff towards this disastrous outcome just so that you're safe. You want some kind of insurance that things will not go awry. And all you can hope to do is save yourself from the consequences of the stupidity that we see out there in the world, in all an effort to prop up the industrial war complex out there. Own gold. That's what a lot of the people say. Own gold, because your currency won't be worth crap. Then you might be crisis proof. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not an expert in this stuff. I don't proclaim to be an expert. All right. Lastly, I wanted to leave you guys with this video, and let me get over there. Let me get to this screen first. Hold on. Whoops, wrong screen. Okay, let's go to this screen first. All right. Lastly, I'm going to leave you guys with a video. It's of Mark Dice, and he goes out. This is a guy, he does Man on the Street. And basically, he goes out and asks questions, and he puts everyone that he asks a question of up on this video. He doesn't leave anybody off. This one, he's asking them if they would prefer a communist leader to be the running partner for Hillary. This one that's dead, and blah, blah, blah. We know the whole story. So, I'm going to end it there. You guys can watch this video if you want. Otherwise, you can leave the show. This has been Francesco Abbruzzino, The Uncensored Report. Remember to go to theuncensoredreport.com and get longevity, minerals, and vitamins for a healthy start to tomorrow. And here's the video. Everybody enjoy.
Hillary Clinton has announced her vice presidential pick, Karl Marx, her economic advisor, but we still need a few more signatures to support her and her decision. I'll hold that for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hillary has been being advised by Karl Marx for many years now, and choosing him as her vice presidential pick will help boost her candidacy credentials amongst a lot of people. So I appreciate you supporting that.
No problem. Have a good day.
Has announced her choice for vice president under her campaign.
Who is it going to be?
Economic advisor Karl Marx, but we still need a few more signatures
Signature for what?
just to ensure that he gets on the ballot with her. Karl Marx has been an Obama advisor for many years now as his economic advisor, so Hillary chose Karl Marx to be the vice presidential candidate. I appreciate you supporting that.
No problem.
See if we can get the utopia we've all been hoping for finally.
She got to step up. I don't like to see what Trump doing. She got to step up.
Thank you. Your vice presidential pick, communist Karl Marx, but we still, the economic advisor, but we still need a few more signatures to help make sure that
I live in Arizona.
That this is a nationwide support, print birth date signature to help Hillary's campaign. Karl Marx, her new vice presidential pick. Karl Marx, the economist.
I did it backwards, is that okay?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, just print there. And thank you for supporting her vice presidential pick of Karl. Yep. Thank you so much. Hillary has announced her vice presidential pick, communist Karl Marx, to be the VP for the 2016 election, but we still need a few more signatures just to help Hillary out and to fight sexism. But I don't see what's the problem.
I don't know enough about it to make a decision.
All right. We're just getting some signatures from the citizens to